This is Sensor Studio reaching the decorative cloud. Recently, the United States has put a kind of pressure, though not direct, on Japan and Australia. It is said that they asked what Japan and Australia would do if a cross-strait war broke out and a conflict occurred between the United States and China. This is not just a simple diplomatic request, it could be a step in preparing for a very significant event that may happen in the future. Today, let's take a proper look at this topic. Let's get right into it. The Financial Times reported that on July 12, Kolby, the United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Policy, met with Japanese and Australian defense officials and asked for their countries' roles in a potential United States-China armed conflict. This is quite shocking, let me tell you why. That's because the United States has never directly and specifically asked its allies to participate in war plans over the Taiwan issue before. In fact, according to a report by the Financial Times, the request reportedly surprised Japan and Australia, as even the United States does not provide a blank check for Taiwan's defense. This signifies a shift in the core direction of United States foreign policy, moving away from the previously maintained strategic ambiguity approach. The United States' stance on Taiwan is intentionally ambiguous, cautioning China against reckless actions while avoiding direct provocation, effectively protecting Taiwan without explicitly committing to it. All United States presidents have followed this approach until now, including Trump, who never explicitly said he would defend Taiwan. In other words, the United States has also reserved its decision, allowing for political maneuvering. The United States has asked its allies, Japan and Australia, to clarify their potential involvement, including troop commitments, in the event of a war in the Taiwan Strait. Japan and Australia have shown embarrassed reactions so far. That's understandable because even the United States is maintaining strategic ambiguity about whether it would defend Taiwan, so it's hard to make sense of asking its allies to immediately state their exact and specific military roles. If they were to be specific, they might end up taking the lead themselves, so it's only natural. In fact, Japan and Australia effectively refused to answer the United States' request. Let's first take a look at Japan's response. Japanese Defense Minister Bang Isang said it's hard to answer a hypothetical question about a Taiwan contingency specifically. He stated that in an actual situation, Japan's response would be based on the Japanese constitution, international law, and relevant domestic regulations. This statement uses very cautious and diplomatic language. Japan's peace constitution imposes legal restrictions on the self-defense forces' combat involvement. Joint warfare with another country requires parliamentary approval, constitutional interpretation, and political adjustments. Moreover, since the majority opinion within Japan is that even the United States hasn't clearly stated how it will respond, so why should we take action? It seems that at the government level, they chose a firm yet diplomatically balanced response to Deputy Secretary Kolby's request. Australia's response was clearer and more resolute than Japan's. In a July 13th Australian Broadcasting Corporation interview Pekonoi, Australia's defense industry minister said, "Australia's sovereignty comes first. We do not discuss hypothetical situations." He stated that in any conflict, they won't promise in advance to dispatch troops. The decision to send troops will be made by the government at that time. Minister Conroy's statement in effect amounts to an official rejection of the United States request. He said they are uncertain how they would intervene in a Taiwan Strait war and won't provide a specific answer for now. This message clearly shows that Australia values its United States alliance but prioritizes its own sovereignty and policy independence. These remarks diplomatically convey Australia's discontent and feeling of burden concerning the recent military role-sharing issue between the United States and Australia. Australia is nervous about China's expanding influence in the South Pacific. However, actively participating in a cross-strait war is still a burdensome option for them, even internally. In other words, Japan emphasized a principled legal approach, stating it would decide according to law. Australia expressed a more direct political refusal, stating there is no promise of intervention. Why did Kolby make such a statement? Though unusual, there are two possible reasons. The recent requests to Japan and Australia regarding a potential cross-strait war could indicate either an imminent conflict or preparations for the 2025 defense strategy announcement in late August. The Chinese military is sending fighter jets across the Taiwan Strait's median line around 120 times monthly, effectively making the boundary meaningless. China is also rapidly strengthening its ground forces. The Chinese People's Liberation Army is also forming specialized combat units for rapid response to external drone threats. Currently, many are concerned that the Chinese military appears poised to invade Taiwan at any time. Deputy Secretary Kolby's remarks have sparked discussions about the possibility of an imminent war. Kolby, Deputy Secretary for Defense Policy, is a key figure in President Trump's foreign and security team, known for leading the drafting and implementation of the Make America Great Again defense agenda. He can be seen as the person who is taking the lead in driving the America First defense agenda of the Trump administration. Deputy Secretary Kolby has consistently pushed for reducing United States global involvement, having allies take the lead in containing China, and implementing an ally-led China strategy as part of this agenda. Japan and Australia were recently asked for specific roles in a potential Taiwan contingency, reflecting the current context. However, the United States has not officially given a definite answer about defending Taiwan. The United States has kept a policy of strategic ambiguity to avoid provoking China. The United States is now urging Japan and Australia to provide concrete action plans and troop contribution measures immediately in the event of a war with China. This double standard was received as a rather unpleasant and uncomfortable request by both Japan and Australia. This diplomatic friction isn't new. Deputy Secretary Kolby has caused discomfort to both countries on several occasions. The most notable incident was in spring 2025, when Deputy Secretary Kolby publicly demanded Japan raise its defense budget to 3% of gross domestic product. This remark was received very sensitively within Japan, and it is known that Prime Minister Ishiba strongly objected to it. As it was a United States demand, Japan started actively considering it, carefully reviewing a plan to gradually raise the defense budget from 3% to 3.5%. However, Deputy Secretary Kolby quickly stated that even 3% is insufficient and should be increased to at least 5%. Deputy Secretary Kolby's diplomatic style, which applied unreasonable pressure while disregarding Japan's circumstances, strongly displeased Japanese diplomats and politicians. Diplomatic sources unofficially criticized Kolby's approach as excessively unilateral and disconnected from reality. In relations with Australia as well, Deputy Secretary Kolby has often been mentioned as a key figure in sensitive conflicts. A representative example is the issue related to Australia, United Kingdom, United States. Australia, United Kingdom, United States is a security framework promoted by the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, which includes providing Australia with nuclear-powered submarine technology. Deputy Secretary Kolby unilaterally decided to reconsider the framework, which was a key strategy to keep China in check. The decision greatly embarrassed the Australian government and led Australian diplomats to view the United States as a potentially unreliable partner that could change strategic agreements at any moment. As Deputy Secretary Kolby has repeatedly acted unilaterally without fully considering Japan and Australia's positions and is now leading the development of the new 2025 United States defense strategy, it is natural that both countries cannot take his remarks lightly. Japan and Australia view this demand not merely as a political opinion, but as an increased burden and pressure on the alliance. Some suggest that Deputy Secretary Kolby's remarks were not due to an imminent Taiwan Strait war, but rather because of the 2025 defense strategy. Deputy Secretary Kolby is set to announce the 2025 defense strategy in late August. While the exact contents are unknown, experts believe the 2025 defense strategy will align with Deputy Secretary Kolby's philosophy. The United States strategy is expected to focus on deterring China's invasion of Taiwan and defending the United States mainland, while largely assigning the task of deterring threats from North Korea and China to its allies. Japan, Australia, and Korea were asked about their roles in a potential cross-strait war, as it's a significant issue for them. Holbert Chang-an argues that United States forces in Korea should be reduced and their roles adjusted. He has long argued that South Korea should lead more in defending against North Korea's conventional threats, instead of relying on United States forces in Korea. The 2025 defense strategy is anticipated to cover discussions on decreasing the number of United States troops stationed in Korea. Experts suggest a defense strategy may be announced, likely pressuring South Korea to take a larger role in containing China. If a cross-strait war erupts, leading to a United States-China conflict, South Korea's response seems predetermined by public opinion. A June public opinion poll found, when asked about South Korea's position if a serious United States-China conflict occurred, 40.6% said South Korea should back the United States, 2.7% said China, and 51.3% said stay neutral. While people don't want conflict in the Taiwan Strait, public opinion shows they don't want South Korea directly involved in a cross-strait war. When asked about the role of United States forces Korea in a cross-strait war, 42.3% said they should provide rear support like logistics and intelligence for Taiwan-related military operations from within the Korean peninsula. 29.5% said United States forces Korea should focus on deterring North Korean military and defending South Korea. The biggest reason was that people don't want United States forces Korea to leave the Korean peninsula, and when asked how South Korea should respond if a cross-strait war breaks out, 49.3% supported humanitarian aid, while 15.8%, the second most common response, believed South Korea should remain neutral. 13% favored only delaying ammunition and weapons support. 6.8% supported sending non-combat troops, and 6.1% backed sending combat troops. When you look at how the United States acts, there are often very significant implications. What do you all think South Korea should do if a cross-strait war breaks out? Please leave your thoughts in the comments as well. That concludes the video. Thank you.